You guys, Starbucks just got exposed by its own employees for putting this in their drinks.
Okay guys, so this is me and Lori. We're gonna be testing out the blending powder because as you guys know it's toxic. This is what y'all are eating whenever y'all get
Starbucks used to be a source of pride for America. That is right, but it only used to be. Americans have criticized it for being expensive, not tasting as good, and getting worse every day, and some have even switched to Chinese brands. But Starbucks kept doing just fine because too many people were still buying it for the memories of a time when it was considered trendy coffee. But whatever trust was left disappeared completely when Starbucks employees themselves exposed a suspicious new powder and called the drinks toxic. Thousands of customers were outraged. Starbucks barely gave them an answer. So what really happened? Today, join me as we hear directly from the people on the inside who were brave enough to speak the truth. We are going to find out what this powder Starbucks is using really is, and why employees themselves had to post videos asking for help. But that is only the beginning. The deeper you dig, the more you see how Starbucks went from a symbol of trendy coffee to fast food. You will also see just how fragile the safety standards we have always trusted really are. And even more seriously, even children, the future generation of America, are being poisoned. This is not just a story about Starbucks. This is a sad picture of what America has become. A viral video from Starbucks employees has social media furious. Maybe when you clicked on this video, you thought the people still drink Starbucks. Everyone says it is expensive, the coffee is not good anymore, the drinks are turning more and more into desserts, and the brand just keeps going downhill. No. The truth is a lot of people still do. Starbucks gets plenty of criticism, but customers keep buying. And as long as the money keeps flowing across the counter, those complaints are not enough to force the company to change. People have been talking about the prices, the sugar, and the quality for years. Everyone can feel that Starbucks is not what it used to be, but all of it remained nothing more than scattered complaints. Until this video showed up.
Okay guys, so this is me and Lori. We're gonna be testing out the blending powder because as you guys know it's toxic. Ew. Okay, now record the cut. This is what y'all are eating whenever y'all get
Two Starbucks employees hold up the blending powder being used in the new drink, scoop it into a blender, and watch the mixture it creates. They react to the smell and texture, call it toxic, and even make a comment related to cancer. They had clearly been suspicious of the powder before turning on the camera, but what made the video spread was not how reliable their experiment was. What made people stop and watch was that an ingredient normally kept behind the counter was suddenly being shown directly to the public by the employees themselves. Then look at how Starbucks introduces its blended energy refreshers. Of course, Starbucks is going to make its product look beautiful in the ads. But when smoothness and consistency are being sold, as part of the experience, customers have every right to ask what creates them. In the ad, it is a smooth texture. Behind the counter, it is a powder that employees have to open, scoop, and pour into a blender. And this is where the story gets more serious. Right after the product rolled out, Baristas started talking on Reddit about the risk of breathing in blending powder. The original poster was very worried at first, then later added an update saying that food-grade non-crystalline silica is not the same as the industrial silica usually mentioned in serious health warnings. But that does not erase the main question: this powder can still become airborne when employees scoop and pour it. A customer drinks 1 cup and leaves. The barista stays there, opens the container, scoops the powder, and repeats the same process for the 10th drink, the 20th drink, maybe the 50th drink of the day. If the people who have to handle it every day are going online to ask each other about inhalation risks, how much specific guidance were they actually given? Does Starbucks have any process for controlling the dust or tracking employee reactions? So what is blending powder really? Well, why is it added? And is the biggest concern inside the customer's cup or in the air? Employees have to breathe every day. That is when we need to break it down. Starbucks says the powder is safe, but baristas are afraid of breathing it every day. After that video, I stopped caring about how scary this powder looked. Appearance does not prove anything. The real question is what Starbucks uses it for and why the people who have to handle scoop and pour it every day are starting to worry about breathing it in.
So here are the ingredients right here, and the purpose is it acts as an emulsifier and stabilizer. The gums and other components help create a smoother, more consistent frozen blended texture and slows separation that would otherwise happen sooner after the drink leaves the blender. So basically they're using this so that the drink stays exactly how it was when it was made.
The job of blending powder is pretty simple. It helps the drink stay smooth, keeps it from separating too quickly, and helps it look good longer after it leaves the blender. That way, a drink made in California and one made in New York can look almost exactly the same color, the same thickness, the same image customers saw in the ad. That is exactly what a major chain needs. Starbucks does not add this powder to make the coffee beans taste better. It adds it to make the product more stable, easier to reproduce, and more convenient to sell in huge quantities. I understand that a corporation with thousands of stores needs consistency, but do not sell me the feeling of something handmade when the recipe has already been calculated, so every store produces nearly the same result. Customers pay premium prices while the product behind the counter is being designed more and more like an industrial product. The drink may look like it was made just for you, but almost everything has already been decided, from the amount of each ingredient to the final texture. The ingredient getting the most attention is silicon dioxide, commonly known as silica. Starbucks says it only uses a small amount of food-grade silica. The company also stresses that this is not crystalline silica, the kind often mentioned in serious warnings about lung disease in industrial workplaces. But this is also where I refuse to accept an overly simple answer. Just because a substance is allowed in food does not mean the company has answered what happens when employees breathe it in as a dry powder. Customers receive the blending powder after it has already been mixed into the drink. Baristas come into contact with it before that. They open the container, put in the scoop lift out the powder, and pour it into the blender. During that process, the powder can become airborne right in front of their faces. One side drinks the finished product. The other side stands in front of the dry powder. Those are not the same kind of exposure. For customers, the information we have right now does not prove that one of these drinks will make them sick. I am not going to turn a suspicion into a conclusion just to scare people. But customers still have the right to know what is in the drink they are paying for. And I started getting seriously concerned when baristas said they experienced coughing, sore throats, headaches, and irritation after handling blending powder. Starbucks can tell baristas to scoop more slowly and pour more gently so less powder becomes airborne. But during busy hours, they are still pushed to make drinks as fast as possible, keep service times down, and stop the line from getting too long. You cannot tell employees to speed up, and also tell them to be more careful when the speed of the job is exactly what makes being careful more difficult. Starbucks has talked about what customers are drinking. It still has not clearly explained what happens to the people who have to stand next to that powder throughout their entire shift. And when baristas have to go online to ask something the company should have answered at work, they also put themselves in a very different position. They have publicly said they do not feel safe right in front of the company that pays them. The baristas who dared to say something that could cost them their jobs. When baristas said they were coughing, had sore throats, and did not feel safe, Starbucks should have tested the powder, asked how many times employees were exposed during a shift, and taught them how to limit what they breathed in. In my opinion, that is the absolute minimum a company should do when workers start worrying about their health. But the people speaking out were not outside experts watching from a distance. They were still Starbucks employees. The company controlled their schedules, their hours, and their pay. I can talk about Starbucks and turn off the camera. They cannot. They still have to go back to that exact store and work under the same company they just criticized publicly. That is why their words deserve to be heard, and I am grateful they were brave enough to do it. They did not hide their faces. They filmed right there. And the store spoke directly about a product Starbucks was promoting, and new management could see the video. You and I can watch it hit like and move on with our day. They have to walk into their next shift and face the people who may have just watched that exact clip. So I do not just admire them, I also worry about what may be waiting for them after that video. There is no evidence that they were fired or retaliated against. I am not going to turn a concern into something that has not been proven. But anyone who has ever had a job understands what they could face a meeting with management questions about filming inside the store, the way they talked about the product and how the video affected the brand. For Starbucks, that may be nothing more than an internal meeting. For a barista, it could affect their hours, pay insurance, and ability to make rent. I do not think most employees stay quiet because they do not care. They stay quiet because not everyone can afford to turn a warning into a confrontation with the company paying their bills. Thanks to those baristas, we can see that a Starbucks drink is made through fixed recipes, non-stop orders, and pressure to produce the exact same result as quickly as possible. That looks more like an assembly line than the handcrafted coffee shop image Starbucks still wants to sell. So is Starbucks still a coffee shop, or has it become fast food? Starbucks is selling fast food at premium coffee shop prices. After everything happening behind the counter, I do not think we can avoid this question anymore. The problem is not just one bag of powder. The problem is what kind of product Starbucks is selling and what kind of business model its stores are actually using. People have suspected for a long time that Starbucks is becoming more and more like fast food, and in my opinion, they are right. Fast food does not just mean hamburgers or fries. It is a system where the product has to be the same everywhere. Employees follow fixed recipes. Speed comes first, and the more orders they process, the better. When a store runs on standardization, volume, and service, times a few pictures of coffee beans on the wall do not make it any less like fast food. Just look at the current menu. Starbucks keeps pushing colorful drinks, syrup, cold foam, cream toppings, energy drinks, and seasonal versions. In many of them, coffee is only a small part. Some do not even contain coffee. I have nothing against the people drinking a sweet frozen drink, but call it what it is. Do not turn a liquid dessert into a symbol of coffee culture, then charge its customers like they are buying some special handcrafted product. Starbucks still loves using the word handcrafted, but look at how the drinks are made. Pump the syrup a set number of times. Pour the ingredients to the exact line. Scoop the powder with the exact scoop. Push a button, blend it, put on the lid, then move on to the next order. The barista's hands are involved, but almost every decision has already been made. That is not their fault. Nobody can act like an artisan when new orders keep appearing on the screen and customers are waiting in line. The company sells a handcrafted image but organizes the work like an assembly line. Mobile ordering, drive-through service, and delivery make that even more obvious. The store is no longer just a place where customers walk and order coffee and sit down. It is becoming more and more like a drink distribution point. Order ahead, grab the cup, and leave. The faster the better. Starbucks still wants to be remembered as a third place somewhere between home and work. But a relaxing space is hard to maintain when the counter is buried in mobile orders, employees are stressed out, and everything is being pushed to move faster. What frustrates me most is that Starbucks wants to benefit from both sides. It wants the efficiency of fast food while keeping the prices of a premium brand. The process is more standardized. Customers place more of their own orders. Employees have to work faster. Products are designed for mass production, but the bill still says you're buying something special. So is this Starbucks fast food based on how it standardizes a product, pushes speed, and processes it orders? My answer is yes. It is just fast food served in a nicer cup and sold with more upscale language. But Starbucks is not the only case. It is simply a very visible part of the American food system where appearance, speed, and profit are increasingly valued more than real quality. Starbucks is just one part of the industrial food problem. It would be much easier if we could blame the whole problem on Starbucks. Just quit one brand, switch to another place, and the problem is solved. But I do not believe the story is that simple. Starbucks did not create this system. It is just very good at taking advantage of it. Colorful drinks that hold their texture and look the same at thousands of stores are not an accident. They are a perfectly logical product of the modern American food industry. In this system, a product has to travel far, last a long time, look good, have a strong enough flavor to be memorable, and be flexible enough to get a new name, a new color, and be sold again the next season. Food is not only created to feed people, it also has to perform well on store shelves and advertising and in revenue reports. What worries me most is not one bag of powder or one chemical name. What is scarier is that we have gotten used to all of it. We are used to drinks needing texture agents to look more appealing. We are used to food needing such extremely strong flavors before it feels satisfying. We are used to starting the day with a mixed drink, continuing with packaged foods and industrial sauces, and fast food, then ending it with snacks. Every product can say, it is only a little. But our bodies do not process every item in a separate room. They have to take in everything during the same day, then do it all over again the next day. When people ask questions, the usual answer is that this ingredient is approved for use. Fine. But approved only means the product passed the minimum standard required for sale. It does not mean the product is nutritious, necessary, or something that should become an everyday habit. This is no longer a story about what one company puts into one drink. This is an entire consumer environment designed to make buying, drinking, and repeating feel normal. And there is one group learning that lesson very early. Not adults who already understand what they are choosing, but children who see colorful cups as rewards, status symbols, and a way to feel more like grown-ups. A child is not just drinking something sweet. That child is learning to turn a brand into a habit, an identity, and a social need. That is the pot very few people want to name. Starbucks is becoming a status symbol for children.
Cheers, Leilani.
Cheers.
Say cheers. Cheers.
And this is where I think we have been far too lenient. When an adult turns branded drinks into a habit, at least they understand where their money is going. But when children start doing it, we give it very gentle names. A treat. A little outing a cute drink after school. Children do not just want something sweet to drink. They want to hold the same cup as their parents, older siblings, or the people they follow online. They want to order something with a long name, choose their own toppings, and walk into a place that feels grown up. The cup makes them feel more mature. I do not blame children for wanting to copy adults. That is natural. What bothers me is that adults see the process happening and still pretend the cup is just a cup. Then it quickly moves beyond the family. Children may not understand sugar, caffeine, or nutrition, but they understand social value very quickly. Who tried the new drink? Who knows how to customize it? Whose parents bought it for them? Who has a picture to post? Who gets left out when the group talks about something they have never had? To me, this is the most troubling part. A very real need that need to be accepted is being attached to something that can be purchased. Then that product gets tied to emotions too. Get a good grade and you get a drink as a reward. On the weekend, stop by and buy one. When you are sad, you get comforted with your favorite drink. Even spending time with your parents gets connected to a stop at the store. Adults think they are only buying their child something sweet, but flavor is not the only thing being repeated. Children are learning that boredom, stress, and the need for approval can all be solved by making a purchase. I am not calling that addiction in the medical sense, but I will call it what it is, a consumer response being connected to emotions from a very early age. Of course, parents have to set limits. I am not removing that responsibility, but do not reduce the whole problem to parents just need to know how to say no. They're dealing with peer pressure on online content, eye-catching drinks, and the desire to give their children a little happiness. I think we need to be willing to name what is happening. This is consumer training that starts very early. It does not require a secret conspiracy. It only requires repetition and imitation, and the fear of being left out. And once children become part of this consumer culture, the question cannot only be whether parents should buy the drinks. The bigger question is who is responsible for setting limits and where the regulatory system is when companies approach people who are not yet able to protect themselves. Companies only have to say. It follows the rules, while people have to protect themselves. When children are not mature enough to evaluate sugar, caffeine advertising, or peer pressure, we cannot dump all the responsibility on parents. So who sets limits for companies? The answer should be the regulatory system. But this is where I start losing patience. Regulators usually answer a very narrow question: is this ingredient approved for use? Meanwhile, people are asking a different question. Should this product be consumed regularly, promoted everywhere, and turned into a habit? Those are two completely different questions. A product staying within legal limits does not mean it is good. It only means the company has not crossed the red line drawn by the law. I do not want to be reassured with the bare minimum, then be told to call it completely safe. Speed is another problem. A company can launch a new formula, a new color, and a new trend in just a few months. But studying the long-term effects, updating guidance, and creating regulations can take years. The market only needs one summer to create a habit. The system may need an entire decade to decide whether that habit needs to be controlled. Then the burden of proof falls directly on the people with less power. Employees who report symptoms have to prove the cause themselves. Parents worried about their children being targeted are told to learn how to say no. Consumers who ask questions are expected to produce complete evidence. Meanwhile, the company only has to say, the product complies with regulations. In my opinion, that turns responsibility upside down. The company bringing the product to market should have to explain more clearly. It should not force customers to investigate everything themselves, then prove why they have the right to be concerned. I am not saying every regulatory agency is controlled by companies. That would be too serious an accusation without evidence. But the system always has to balance public health, economic interests, jobs, and the right to do business. When all of those things receive some protection, consumers can easily become the ones who have to protect themselves the most. So should we wait until enough people are affected before taking action? Or should companies have to prove a higher level of safety before turning a product into a mass habit? When the system only guarantees the minimum, buyers still have one very practical right: stop paying. That is the vote companies understand the fastest. If you keep paying, Starbucks has no reason to change. Now, I have to say something that may make a lot of people uncomfortable. Starbucks does not survive on praise. It survives on your money. You can complain about the high prices, the declining quality, the increasingly industrial drinks, and the way the company responds to employees. But if you still walk into the store tomorrow morning and order the same old drink, Starbucks receives one very clear message: keep going. Writing an angry comment is easy. Sharing a video is easy too. What is harder is walking past the store, giving up your usual drink, and accepting that you need to change your own habits. You cannot call a company greedy while continuing to reward it with money for doing exactly what it is doing. Some people will say, will Starbucks care if I stop buying one drink? You alone, maybe not. But companies love it when millions of people all believe their individual choices are too small to make a difference. People who believe they are powerless usually change nothing. And that is exactly what benefits companies the most. Making coffee at home will not fix the entire American food industry. But at least you know what you are using. You can reduce the sugar control, the caffeine, and avoid paying a premium price for an increasingly standardized product. You can also buy beans from a local coffee shop. Use instant coffee when you need something fast. Carry your own bottle or treat Starbucks as an occasional choice instead of an automatic morning habit. You do not need to become a coffee expert. You just need to stop pretending you have no other options. Starbucks will not change because we are disappointed. It will only change when that disappointment starts showing up in its revenue. Vote with your wallet. That is the language it cannot pretend not to understand. Nothing in this story is really surprising. High prices, declining quality, increasingly industrial products, and an experience that keeps moving further away from a real coffee shop. We had already suspected all of it. The viral video was only the spark that forced people to take another look at the whole Starbucks system, and this time, it could not keep being ignored. Because that powder's only one problem. Behind it is the way products are designed, the way employees have to work, the way the brand sells a premium image for a process that looks more and more like an assembly line, and the alarming way this consumer culture is being pushed toward younger and younger people. If you clicked on this video because of one clip about blending powder, but you leave feeling like the problem is much bigger than I did my job, and honestly, I can breathe a little easier, and at least some people still want to look directly at the things advertising will never tell us. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Starbucks is being misunderstood? Or have we been far too lenient for far too long? Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. I will keep taking a direct look at the truths very few people want to face.